Zare Mihailov, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and you're watching without your head. And you will be watching without your head if you don't watch without your head.
All right, and we are live here. Thank you guys for watching One Must Fall. Sorry for a little bit of delay here, but it was a really cool movie. I've seen it before, and I'm joined here by Julie Strebel, Sarah, the lead, and One Must Fall. It was very cool to have you here. Well, it is very cool to have you.
Hi there.
Hello. So how did you get involved in the movie?
So Antonio had posted a casting call on Facebook, and multiple my cat's on my computer again, apologies. He had posted a casting call on like multiple networks or groups on Facebook, and I read the description and I was like, oh, I could fit this. And then I submitted a video, and I figured he would probably get hundreds of auditions, and so I didn't think much of it. And then he emailed me and wanted to meet up, and I was like, oh, okay, he must be like, I don't know, narrowing it down or something. And then he offered me the role, and I was like, oh, cool. So I didn't actually know him beforehand. I knew of him because here locally he's kind of a big deal, but in Louisville, Louisville is local. But
yeah.
So that was kind of how I got involved.
So how much did you know about the movie when he posted about it?
I think he said that it was a horror film, but to me it felt like he was focusing on actual like character development and having a story to where you care about what happens to the characters, and that was appealing to me. But I didn't, I think, know how gory it was going to be until we got into it. So
for the audition, was it anything from the script?
It was. I did a few scenes. So one was the scene where Brad fires me, which was a fun thing to audition and even more fun to film once we had, because I know JP, who plays the boss Brad.
Yeah,
we're friends in real life.
Movie, by the way.
Yeah, I love JP. And so that was really fun to do with him. But so we did that scene where he fires me, the scene in the office where he's asking for my number, because I remember having to say the line, I would rather suck the fart out of my own ass.
Right.
That was the line I got to say.
I wrote in my notes. It was quite a line, yeah.
That was the line I got to say. That was very memorable for me. And I
would assume it's the first time you got to say that line.
Yes. That was not a common line of other things I had done. And then also, I'm trying to think, the other thing was when Alton and I are talking, like after we've both been fired, and I have the line about I can't remember at this point, but it's the 80s stuff referencing. So anyway, I had those, like, I think 3 scenes, but I didn't have any of the horror stuff in my audition.
Yeah. Are you a horror movie fan at all?
So, yes, it's funny because historically I've said no, only because I'm a huge baby. I'm very squeamish, and so I watch them like this because, like, I can hear whatever, but visuals get me, and specifically, like, creepy face stuff. I can't deal with face stuff, or like contortions. A lot of common horror things freak me out. So, but like I was looking at your background. Like, I love The Thing. I love Alien. Like, Alien and The Thing are my 2 top. But I guess they're not horror I don't know. I think some people don't really.
Some people get like, I'm not really a big stickler for genre. People get like mad if you call it. I was like, I don't know. I like the movie.
So they're more.
Really all that matters.
But I like when I was younger. I don't want to say. I guess I grew up, but I was a big Hitchcock fan growing up, which is, that's by no means horror compared to what we have today. But like Psycho, The Birds, Rear Window, huge fans of those. So. I grew up and I read Goosebumps books like growing up. So I've always been into like spooky stuff. But I think I never really consider myself a horror fan just because I'm such a baby about it. But I know I've kind of slowly over the years gotten more acclimated. So
the thing about horror, though, there is a lot of like different types of horror. It's not like all slasher.
No, it's so cool. Well, and 2, the cool thing, it's similar to comedy in terms of it's personal preference, because like I'm scared by a number of things, but like, oh gosh, like I loved Babadook. But when it got to the ending, and I don't want to spoil the ending in case anyone hasn't seen it, but like when it got to the ending, I was like, oh, well, that's okay. Like I just was okay with it. Like it's very psychological. Like the minute I don't know, the minute like a monster becomes like, oh, they're just an animal. I'm like, oh, well, they just need a hug. That, like I love it. But I love stuff that makes you feel, and I like the psychological stuff. So yes, I guess the answer is yes. I apologize. That's my answer.
Yeah. So you said you didn't know, it was as gory as it is. Did you know that it was as comedic? Like when you're in the movie, did you know that it was played for? I know you have that line and stuff, but did you know that a lot of it is comedic?
Yeah. Whenever because I didn't see the actual script until after I had. Well, no, I think he and I met for coffee and like talked through it. And I like laid out like, is this torture porn? Because I do have a day job, like I can't, that kind of thing. And anyway, and so we laid out some of the basics, and then he sent me the script, and then so I did at that point get to read it before I signed on, and I was like, oh yeah, like I love this. This is really fun. Yeah.
And what's interesting is that, well, it doesn't really start off comedic because you do have a kill right away, but a lot of it's comedic, but then the villain, I think, is so evil. And, and you were talking about you feel for the characters, and I think the comedic aspect really helps for that, because then you're into everyone, so when things start to happen, you actually feel bad, as opposed to some movies where it's almost like you're just watching it to see the kills.
Yeah. Well, and, and the kills are really interesting. And, it depends on your personal preference, but like for me personally, I want to care about the characters, because if there aren't any stakes, it's like, oh, they got killed. Who really cares? But if you can accomplish both, have a cool kill scene, but also have some stakes, because that's the thing. If you have characters that people can relate to, like I think that like Alton's an interesting character. Like I think I personally could relate to Sarah in a few different ways, and so to me that's relatable. I know I have a biased outlook though on the movie, but yeah. So I think I liked how Antonio did that.
Yeah, I know in the chat there was a lot of people who were looking forward to Brad's demise.
Yes. It's if you knew JP in real life, you would. He's just the sweetest guy in real life.
I was gonna say, I hope he's not so much funny. Like the character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna say, if you knew him in real life, he's exactly like he is in the movie.
No. No.
Yeah. So, what about the gore? Especially, we just watched a movie, so there will be some spoilers here. But the big scene where you get I think that's really unexpected, first of all, because you leave the character, you think this is the final girl. Obviously, she's not going to get killed. You don't get killed, but you still get cut up.
Yeah. No. So that's actually something I do like about it, because so have you seen How to Train Your Dragon?
No, I've not actually.
I won't spoil it then, but it's a good movie. I'm not a big DreamWorks fan. I'm more of a Pixar fan. Okay. But no, it's a good movie. It's fun. It's got dragons in it. But all I will say is that I like it when you have a protagonist who's the lead character and they go through something, but they are not unscathed. I think that's really cool. And so, yeah, like a lot of that was, most people had that reaction of like, I wasn't expecting that. And I'm like, I know. And so, all practical effects. It took hours to do that. Vincent was our amazing special effects artist, and he started out putting on like a muscle to look like muscle or whatever. And so like, using, I think it was spirit gum maybe, but using a bunch of sticky stuff to put it on my face. And then we went up there to the room we were filming. And so I laid down, and then he started pouring this goo. I don't know. It was, I guess, just red goo. And he started pouring it, and he was being really careful. He was very, very considerate the entire time. But then at one point, gravity took over, and it just went into my eye, and I'm wearing contact lenses, and it's like, we have to film like 3 more hours. I can't have stained, contact. So I just like shut my eyes. And at one point they were like, are you going to open your eyes? And I was like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to get it stained. And they were like, okay, cool. Let's hurry this along. And anyway, And then at one point, yeah, like I will say I got a little claustrophobic because like the goo went on my nose, my eyes. And so then I was just like breathing through my mouth. But anyway, it's a whole thing of like, you just separate yourself and put your mind elsewhere or whatever. And everyone was really considerate though, like during the whole process. Yeah. And then we had to go downstairs and take it off. And then he had to clean my face off and then put on the staples. So we did like all of that. I think it was all in one night. Yeah, it was all in one night.
Yeah. Had you ever done any like heavy makeup like that before?
Not to that extent. I've done other stuff where I've done like zombie makeup where they put essentially like latex to look like your skin's coming off or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I've had stuff done before. It really exfoliates the skin, let me tell you. But I've had that done before, but not to that extent. Mm-hmm. And not by an LA special effects artist, so.
Right. Yeah. No, Barry, who plays the killer in the movie, he's awesome in the movie as well. Yeah. And actually, the whole cast is great, yourself included. But okay. So like the big scene, not only him cutting you and stuff, but just the dialogue I think is great there. And so what was it like to work with him? And which is actually is harder. I would assume the more emotional acting is harder than
It I was actually it can be. I think it's it depends on the actor. But like for me, it was really nice. Like Barry's wonderful, first of all. Like I'm not just saying that. Like I could not have asked for a better scene partner for that specific scene because, something I've told people before, I'm going to geek out about acting for a second. So with acting, intimacy is not just a sex scene. Intimacy is a fight scene. It's a comedic scene. You have to have trust with your actor to know that they got you. If in a fight scene especially, because I can get dangerous if you don't trust each other and if you've not rehearsed it and like know what to expect. And so there has to be a lot of trust there. And Barry and I, luckily, in the setup for that scene, he and I were running lines, and he obviously has a bunch of monologues throughout the entire film. And he and I were running lines and just talking through, and in terms of him saying, okay, are you okay if I do this? And, just talking beforehand. He was very respectful and very caring. And I'm laying, so we filmed it in January. And so it's like, it's not heated, it's a stone floor. And I'm like laying there, and he was very, everyone was very caring, considerate, but he was very caring the entire time. And so we would do the scene. And I think the fact that we were able to talk through it beforehand, so to get into it. And then when it came time to actually film, like I've had to cry before, like on stage or in film. And sometimes it's a struggle. Sometimes I have to think about an animal dying or something, I have to think about something really sad to actually get into. But with this, I was able to just be in the scene and in the moment. And he would there's a wonderful behind the scenes picture that, our BTS photographer got, Steve Squall. He got a picture of us afterwards. Like as soon as we finally finished all the dialogue before I had to go downstairs and get special effects. Like Barry helped me stand up, and we just hugged each other. We just hugged it out. I'm crying, and we just hugged it out, and he kissed my cheek. And I was just like, oh, this is the best, because again, could not ask for a better scene partner, because it's so crucial to have that trust, between the two. Because for my character, I'm being very vulnerable. I'm crying, and he's obviously trying to kill me, so it was just great from that perspective.
Is that his real accent? Which we may find out
no.
in a second. All right.
No. He just, I want to say it was not a part of, I don't think Antonio wrote it that way initially, but he just kind of came up with it. Oh, there's Barry now.
Yeah. It's odd because I didn't know he was on when I started asking that question. So.
Oh, okay.
But as soon as I did, I was like, I guess we'll find out here momentarily. I'm not sure he knows we're on here. But...
Hello.
Hey.
He's hiding in the shadows.
I know. That's what killers do. That's what they do.
I'm going to go to my studio. I was in there all day, and I'm sorry I'm getting on a little late here.
That's okay.
You're good.
While he's getting out there, because you said about, it was in January, and I did notice you could see people's breasts.
Yeah, so that was real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that difficult, or does that add to the atmosphere, like it being so cold?
I mean, it was. I mean, so the good thing is, well, poor Barry was in a t-shirt, so he was probably colder than we were. But the rest of us were able to layer up to an extent beneath our hazmat suits. And they did, like, they gave us like blankets, and they had a big, like a shop, like a mechanic shop, like jet fuel heater thing. I'm terrible at describing this, but they had a big heater for us that we got to listen to in between. Or I'm not listening to, I'm sorry, that we got to use in between takes. But yeah, it was challenging at times, but it was also, it looks good.
Yeah.
It was challenging to work in at times, but it ultimately looks good, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I agree. It does look good. I really like a scene where it's the montage of you guys like cleaning up one of the rooms, like burning matter and stuff. So, like, I guess, like, how long did you film? You know, to cut that into a montage.
That was so we were in that. That was on. That was all in one day. So that was actually pretty quick. Come to think of it, but yeah, all the scenes where the suicide in the house. That was all in one day, because we only had that location that one day, and it was like a 9-hour shoot, maybe 10 hours. Like, it wasn't super long. But the montage went pretty quickly, and a lot of it was kind of improvised in terms of like Todd like improvised like opening the bag of chips and like eating the chips. So yeah, he was hilarious.
Barry, you're here with us?
I'm here, brother.
All right, very good. So I'd actually, just asked Julie about the accent, if that was your real accent. So I didn't know at the time. So what was the decision to come up with that accent for the killer?
Well, it's interesting that I found out about this, the audition on Backstage, which is one of the platforms actors use. But it's not like the main. It's not like Actors Access or something like that. That's usually what the agents use. So I was just browsing around one day, and I found Antonia's post, and I read the description. I went, "Ooh, that sounds really great." And then I got the script. When I read the script, I was like, "Ooh," and immediately I thought of Antonio Banderas. In Skyfall. And there's a great scene where, I don't know if you've seen that, where he comes down the elevator doors open up, James Bond is sitting in a chair tied up, and Antonio Banderas comes walking toward him and has this wonderful monologue. And of course he's Spanish. And I immediately thought when I read the script that this guy should have a Spanish accent. So I worked on it, and that's why I did my audition. And it was awesome. Because, Antonio's like, he is the most positive person I've ever met in my life. And he makes you feel really great. Such a great brother. Anyway, he called me like in 20 minutes. He says, "Oh my gosh, man, I watched your audition 20 times. And I watched with my wife, too. It's awesome. I love you, man. Will you be in my movie?" I said, "Yes, I'd love to be in the movie." And we talked like close to 2 hours, just about, each other and, what we were doing, and then the character. And it's interesting that I grew up Catholic up in New York, and I just felt like the killer had these kind of Catholic-y undertones to him. And so we developed the whole story and the backstory for him. And it was just awesome. It just, and I just felt like it's probably the most fun I've ever had doing a role. Plus I got to work with awesome people like Julie. I got to kill her. Well, almost kill her.
Yeah,
he skinned her face off.
Yeah.
Close
enough.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah. Where was that in the original script, like the religious undertones and some of the dialogue?
Well, yeah, there's some some like scripture that he quotes, but he's obviously got kind of like a God complex, and he but I wanted to take it back because a lot of the early days, like up in New York, like in the 1940s, 50s, in there, just in the inner city, in the boroughs of New York, in the darker places, Catholicism, is pretty much the religion up there, and it gets very legalistic and harsh, right? I went to Catholic school. All the stories about the nuns slapping you on the hands with rulers and stuff, it's all true. That's what I went through. And it could easily turn you away from your faith. And I think that the killer, he just had it difficult when he was young. We talked about, an abusive mother and a single parent and blah, 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 blah. And that's how we kind of developed the pathway for him to turn, people don't do that overnight. It's a series of events in their life and choices, and I think that out of his frustration with himself, with his situation, and with what he saw, so he's got this really great moral foundation, but he turns it 180 degrees on its head. He becomes God himself, and he's going to mete out the justice. He doesn't see anybody else doing it, so he takes it upon himself to mete out the justice. And of course, that's warped. But hopefully, it gave the killer different levels, and hopefully people picked up on that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, for both of you and Julie, for, as actors, like when you come up with a backstory for the character, even if it's not like told in the movie for the audience, I always think that adds something, even as an audience member, like you could tell there's something, to the character. And how does it help you as an actor, play that character, I guess?
Jules?
I was going to say, I've been talking more than you have. Yeah, I think it depends on the character. Antonio and I talked about it, and the funny thing is, I could relate to Sarah in a lot of ways. I'm not a single mom, but I don't eat meat either. I'm vegetarian, and so that was already in the script. And I think a lot of things in her personality in terms of resorting to sarcasm. When you're dealing with hard shit, there were a lot of things personality-wise and character choices in the script I already could relate to. So I didn't really do as much backstory. I think that we briefly talked about, well, where's the father? Where is Hunter's father? Or, I'm sorry, Hunter's name of the actual kid, Shepard. where is Shepard's father? And I think one of us, but we kind of agreed that who the fuck cares? He's not in the picture. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where he is. He's not here, and I'm moving forward. And so that was kind of that was the most we did in terms of that backstory. Was it doesn't really matter because he doesn't matter. Yeah. I didn't do as much work though. I'm also wasn't playing a psychopath, so I didn't have to stretch.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that Barry did have to stretch. He didn't just be like, I really relate to this guy. And
well, it's great to I don't always do these deep backstories for every character I play. Sometimes it's just find experiences in your own life that match up with the character you're playing and live it out that way, But I haven't killed anybody, of course, and
at least you don't want to say that here.
I needed it, not that anybody knows about. Uh-huh. No, I needed it to provide some of my motivation, and then also, the thing is, these killers like that, they're not simple people. Mm-hmm. They're very complex people, and they're often very intelligent. And I wanted to try to bring, and you watch, Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, and just his, that simplicity that he plays that character. It's never anything big. It's never anything loud, or rarely. And I love that. And I use that to try to pattern the killer. But all of this, me and Antonio talking, and then me developing more the backstory, where he came from, what could lead somebody to get to this point to break, and then to have this, to embrace this God complex and actually carry it out. It was all important for me to have that kind of living in me, so that it hopefully would come out authentic. Because I don't have any experiences I do as far as, religion and growing up as a Catholic, and I'm a man of faith anyway. It was important to me to develop those backstories. And frankly, I think maybe Julie will attest to this. The bad people are always more fun to play sometimes, because it's so much deeper, and it takes so much more out of you, and you have to give so much to it. And while it's challenging, it's very fulfilling to be able to do that kind of work.
Yeah, the more, pardon me, the more challenging, the more fulfilling it is. I think a lot of actors agree with that, because I loved playing Sarah. I don't want to say it was easy, but it was, I didn't have to stretch much for the character per se, but I played a psychotic killer for a short film a handful of years ago. And that was probably one of the more fun things I had done, because I had to stretch myself so much, because I was horrifically killing this woman for a toy, because it was Black Friday and she took the last toy and I wanted it for my kid. And so I was horrifically killing her over it. The commentary, of course, being consumerism in the US, but that was a fun way of that topic. But yeah, stretching yourself and having to dig in terms of what would cause a normal person to do this, because and that's I think why serial killers are so interesting, in the first place for so many people, because we're just why? And do I have the makings of a serial killer? Does my neighbor, what could cause someone to want to do these things? And yeah, it's a fun psychological thing, I'm sure.
Yes.
Here in the chat, Martin W. Payne said that he loved the movie. He got to see it on Horror on Sea Film Festival in the UK. And so did you guys get to, I don't know if you got to see it in the UK, but did you get to see at any of the festivals?
Barry, did you? No?
No, I just came up to the premiere in Louisville.
Yeah. So you got to hear audience reactions live.
It was great.
Yeah. That was, here in Louisville, we have a big old theater called the Louisville Palace, and I forget how old it is. I should know. I was born and raised here. But it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful old building, and I think it seats up to 1,000 people. But anyway, and we had, I don't know, a handful of hundreds people there, and so it was really cool to hear all the reactions. And I got to see the first premiere in Cincinnati at Horror Hound, and that was super cool. Yeah, that was cool too.
Yeah, I think horror movies and comedies are the best to watch with a crowd, because you have the interaction with the audience, either laughing or reacting to something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, the reaction to my face being torn off was amazing. I love that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Was that the first time you saw the finished movie with the audience, or had you seen it, before you saw it in the theater?
Mm-hmm. Did Antonio send it to you, Barry?
No, I hadn't seen the final cut.
Oh, you hadn't?
No.
Okay. I think I saw the final before. Well, I think I saw it close to completion. I don't remember if prior to Horror Hound, if I saw with the final music and special effects and everything.
Right. Yeah.
But I think I saw it mostly completed. I think I've seen many versions of it.
Yeah. Is it hard to watch a movie you're in as a movie, as opposed to the memories of making the movie?
If you don't suck.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a fear, I think, for actors. I mean, you know, you don't, you know, while you're doing it, you know, hopefully you're in the moment and you're not really thinking about how I look or what, you know, you're just there, and then you trust the professionals around you to capture it, to have the lighting right, to, you know, set the camera correctly and blah, 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 get the audio. And we certainly had that, you know, a team of professionals.
Yeah.
So it is fun to see the finished product because you never know, really, the magic really happens in the editing room. You know, that's where everything, you can create any kind of emotion or tension that you want just by the way you edit stuff, you know. And then the music, it's like, you know, you can watch a movie without the soundtrack and it's one thing, and then you put the music in, and you can change the movie into anything you want. Like a scene that it can be comedic and it can be dramatic just by the movie. I mean, by the music that you lay underneath it. And it's amazing to watch all that come together. And I was really impressed and pleased with the finished product. I thought, I mean, for like no budget, Antonio created something really that I think I can speak for the whole cast that we're all very, very proud of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it's, speaking of, you know, the editing and the music alone changing the entire tone. Have you seen where someone took took footage from The Shining and turned it into like a father-son drama? So case in point, the editing, that really does make a huge difference. And then it's funny how before music it can just be really awkward and dry, but then with music it just has a whole new level. And we had amazing people working on it, people from Italy working on the music for it, and I think maybe just sound mixing. We had good people, lots of good people involved.
The score is great. I love the score. I think it really adds a lot to the movie.
I loved it. No, for me, the funny thing is, like, I'm extremely proud of this. It looks and sounds amazing. I know I'm biased, but we have an amazing cast. Like, I couldn't have asked for better people. Barry, I don't know if you heard me saying this, but I was talking about how I could not have asked for a better scene partner in the face ripping off scene, or leading up to it rather. But no, for me though, it's more of it's so funny. Like literally to this day, I will think about, why did I say that line that way? I should have gone up, not down, you know, like I'll think about, I should have hit this or whatever. And it's silly how you nitpick. And like, I think most people probably watching it would hopefully not have those thoughts, but I don't know. I think like if you rehearse it so many times before and then you do it and you try it a few different ways when you're filming, and then they pick the best one, the best take, that's the best, maybe it's the best technically, you know, in terms of, things are in focus, things are lit, things are in frame. Her acting isn't terrible, so we'll just keep it, you know, like whatever. The reasoning is, because there's so many factors that go into choosing one take out of however many you took. And a lot of it is technical. And like in that regard, because there are scenes where I'm like lying down, you know, or like I'm crying. And so it was funny. There were a few times where Cody, our DP, I would be like, do I look fat? Just because it's like, or do you see nose hairs? You know, like, cause it's going to be in HD. So it's like, I want to know these things. And so, but they were very accommodating and they were aware of those things when we filmed.
Yeah, Julia talked about the scene, you know, the dialogue scene that leads up to her face being skinned. What are your memories of that, Barry?
Well, it was cold.
She had said the same.
It was really cold, and I just had a t-shirt. Short sleeve t-shirt, pair of pants, and a leather apron on, and I was literally, I mean, it was like 8 degrees in this building, you know. Yeah. And I would come home to my motel room every night and stand in the shower for like 30 minutes just trying to thaw out. And another interesting thing was I was about, I don't know, a month and a half out from open heart surgery.
Oh, wow.
Because I had my mitral valve repaired.
Yeah.
So they went in robotically, so it wasn't a crack open the chest, but still it was amazing that I was there shooting a movie, you know, that close to the surgery. So, and it provided some difficulties, but I think, you know, it's funny when you don't have like a big crew and lots of gear. It's a little harder to kind of get in the moment, you know, because like stuff that I've done, you know, network TV and that kind of stuff. I mean, you got everything set up, and you have this I don't know how to put it, but you can it allows for you to be in the moment. It's like it's built for you to be in the moment. There's a lot of respect for actors. Not that we didn't have respect on set, but you know, there was a lot of stuff going on, and you know, only a few people to do it, and it took longer, and you have to wait, and you know, those kind of scenes like with Julie and I mean, those are hard, and you got to stay in this mindset, you know, and any little thing can pull you out. And so I would go and like stand by the heater, space heater, and I had a hoodie that I wore in between scenes, and I just put over my head and just kind of hide, you know, because I wanted to stay in the moment and in the character, you know. And so during those moments, you just, you know, well, one of the things I want to say is too, Julie's right. We had great actors, but it was the chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're all friends now.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like most of the time as an actor, you go on set and you leave and that's it. You don't ever talk to anybody ever again. You're done. But we all became friends. We all still talk to one another over Facebook. You know, I call Antonio, all the time. And we talk, you know. I talk to John Wells often. Julie and I message, you know, every now and then too. And Andrew, I was in a project here in Atlanta with him.
Oh yeah.
Swipe Club, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's rare. You don't get that often, and you don't get this cohesiveness. You know, it was like it was just awesome. You know, and so when Julie and I are working together, I mean, it's just you know, it's just two, I think, capable actors. I'll say it, you know, I mean, we're not, you know, I mean, we've done it before. I mean, we studied, we did the work, and we're just in the moment with one another. And that was, you know, I could say that too, you know, about Daniel and I have become really good friends. We talk often, and he's a great actor. And you know, our scenes, we're all, you know, really had just connection, you know, and it's so it's fulfilling to do. It's fulfilling as an actor to create your character and to perform it and really be in it. That's incredibly fulfilling. But the most fun is when you get to work with other people that have put in the work, and there's this chemistry there, and there's the flow, and that's because that's when the magic happens. That's when everything else is tuned out. You don't see the cameras, you don't see the people, you don't notice the lights. It's just you and your scene partner, and you're there, and you're creating something that really doesn't exist, but it's happening right then. It's an amazing feeling to be part of something like that. And I think maybe Julie will agree with me that it's what keeps us going in this unforgiving, brutal industry that we're in.
Yeah.
It's those moments that really keep me auditioning and getting rejected over and over and over. so that, you know, there's an opportunity to get to those moments, you know. And I'll say this, I'm so thankful to Antonio for casting me, because Hollywood would have never even allowed me to audition for that role. I would have never even gotten the sides. But Antonio gave me an opportunity. And so I'm so thankful for that, because it was just an awesome role to play.
I actually really quickly. So a couple of things. So when you were talking about staying in the scene and little things can take you out of it. So when we filmed that, it was the day before the last day of shooting. Cause I think you had to like fly out that evening. Like after
I drove, yeah.
Or drove. Yeah, you drove out. And so, but that was the day before our final day, and our final day of filming was the opening office scene, which is very dialogue heavy for me. And just from being in the cold, which, by the way, this is not nearly the same thing, but I had recovered from the flu a week prior. I was diagnosed with the flu. I had to go to the ER. It was like December 30th. It was right before New Year's. I went to the ER because I was like, yeah, my fever is 104.5. I should probably,
yes.
I'm sweating profusely, and it's like, you know, it's, and so I went to, and they were like, oh yeah, you have the flu. And I was like, oh, I film in 8 days. And so I Tamiflu, rest, and then like we were filming the next week or whatever, you know, 8 days later. And so not the same thing as surgery. I am not saying it's the same thing, but
no, it's
but because of that, from having recovered from the flu, and then it was cold, you know, we had all the exhaust or whatever from the heater, and so my voice was not in the best shape. And so when it came time for that, basically in between takes of my and Barry's scene, I was running down to the level that had like all the food and everything and making myself tea just so I could preserve my voice, because I was like, I have to have a voice for tomorrow. And that was like my thought. But no, and I also wanted to touch on, so the biggest reason why so there's two big reasons why when I auditioned for this, I didn't think I was going to get it. One, Antonio had no idea who the hell I was. And he knows plenty of amazing actresses here in Louisville, across the US, hell, across the world. And he had no idea who I was. And I didn't think I would stand out at all whatsoever. That was one. And then two, when they sent me the slides, there was a line that had been altered in the script. And the line initially was, so it's a scene where I'm being kicked out by the security guards when Brad's fired me. The line in the film was, "Are you kidding me? 2 security guards to escort 1 woman? I can help myself, bitches." Well, the original line was, "Are you kidding me? 2 security guards for a 95-pound woman." Now, let me tell you, I am 5'9".
right.
If I weighed 95 pounds, I would look very different than I look now. Let's just say that. And so initially I had changed the line to reflect my actual weight, which is not 95 pounds. And so that being said, like I'm not skinny, never have been. If real Hollywood would never have considered me for this role because I don't look like Jennifer Lawrence. And that's something too, where when Antonio, it was because the funny thing is he didn't call me after my audition, but he emailed me, and there were lots of exclamation points, which I came to find out when I met him, that's just how Antonio talks. Lots of exclamation points.
Yes. That's true.
And so I love Antonio so much. And so like I met him at the coffee shop, and that's when he was like, I love it. And he offered me the role, and I was like, oh, really? Well, how much weight do you need me to lose? And he was just like, if you want to, you can. You're going to be in a hazmat suit. Like, you're not getting naked. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, it's a thing, like typical Hollywood wants different things, which I'm not sensitive about it. I've grown to expect it. That's just the way things are. But because of that, I was like the whole time, like, he wants me? No way. And so it was very nice. I was very happy with the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Antonio is great. I've had him on the show and became friends with him, and he's a very positive guy, exactly what you guys were saying about him. And yeah, he is very exclamation point in talking and in messages. Yeah. Some questions here from the chat room. Josh Stifter wants to know what was the most challenging part of the movie considering the budget? That might be more of an Antonio question. But.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, Barry. I feel like probably the locations. I feel like just staying on track because you had time constraints because you didn't live in Louisville.
Right.
And same with Andrew and Daniel. I think the schedule probably was just challenging. And then Vincent, of course, our special effects person, is from LA.
Yeah.
So I think that just the time, because the day started out like 9 hours, 10 hours, and then it very quickly became like 16 hours.
Yes.
So I feel like
well,
that.
I think
probably.
too. I think. So I think the cold, because typically if you're on like a SAG film, there's all kinds of stuff to help you with that. Okay, like like I was on The Resident a few months ago, and it was kind of chilly outside. And I mean, they had jackets for me, hand warmers, a trailer, hot chocolate, whatever I wanted. It was constant, just, and you can't do that on a low budget. You just can't afford to do that. So there was that. And then, what we're used to, Julie and I are used to on like network TV or SAG Pictures, you have, at least 2 cameras, sometimes up to 4 cameras. So when you do, so like, for instance, when you take a scene, we're going to get the camera catching Julie's reactions, and then they're going to turn around and then get mine, so they get Julie's performance and get my performance. So those are, and then, within each one of those, you're going to get a wider shot, a closer, and then a really extreme close up. So all these takes for all of these different shots with one camera takes a lot longer than if you have multiple camera setups. So I think that's a challenge. And again, it's what I'm talking about. It's like, so for the actor, you got to stay in your moment throughout all those constant changes and the length of time. Like when you got a crew of 30, 40, 50 people, a camera turnaround takes, 3 minutes or 5 minutes, but when you only have like 3 or 4, there's a lot involved and it just takes longer. And I'll tell you, I know Antonio, he just, he's always thinking about the actors. He's always apologizing.
I know. Yeah.
It's like, I'm so sorry. We don't, and we're just thrilled to be there.
Yeah.
and really the thing is when you find a script like this, all that other stuff really doesn't matter that much, because as actors, I mean, this is what you want to do. These are the kind of roles you want to get, and you don't get them that often. And it's like, when you get them, it's like, you're so grateful for them. And you're just concentrating on doing your best and enjoying the moment. And so I won't say that I wasn't miserable at times in the cold, but I knew, we were there, we were making something really great. And I think part of it actually helped me channel the character, that discomfort. Although, the killer, he's there's not much that bothers him. He's very calm in what he does, because he feels like he's got all the power, and he did. But there was a certain weird righteousness to what he was doing, you know. But that element of cold there really, I think, helped me focus more, you know, on staying in the moment, even with all these other changes going on. And I'm sure Antonio would be able to add a lot more because, I mean, he had the, you know, I mean, his wife is great too. She got all this food together for us. It was just awesome. I mean, we didn't want for food on set. So, you know, overall, I think there's nothing really that bad. You know, it was all well done, well put together for having no budget. I mean, it was very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
What you said about your character there, I always think the best villains are villains who are in their mind doing what they think is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Thanos for that reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
People
That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, and then one of the things we were hoping with the character is to create more tension for the viewer, is that we were hoping that people would actually come to like the killer, you know, and then they had to wrestle with that feeling. Well, I kind of like him, you know, but he's a serial killer. I can't like a serial killer, you know.
Well,
but we tried to add.
There are times when I've seen interviews with real serial killers, and they are interesting or charismatic, and it makes you question yourself. You know.
Yeah, well, and I love the fact that Antonio threw in some humor for the killer. It just lightened the moment. And there were some other things that didn't make it into the film that I would love to see how they turned out. There's a great scene when I'm piling up body parts, and I don't know, just in the moment, it came into my head to start whistling "Joy of Man's Desiring" while piling up body parts. And so I actually came back to my studio and ADR'd that for Antonio, but I guess it just didn't fit the film. But it was a real fun kind of creepy moment where the killer's just, I mean, this beautiful, you know, song that came out of the church, you know, Jesus, Yesu, joy of man's desiring, and he's whistling while he's piling up body parts. You know, it's just that dichotomy of who the killer is, you know. He doesn't even get that he's piling up body parts, you know, while he's whistling. He just thinks he's doing God's business.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the other questions we covered, but Alexander Hawk did bring up that he felt sorry for the Goonies poster. It was covered in blood.
Yeah, that was a shame.
That's the main tragedy, I guess.
Tragic.
So, but anyway, I love the movie. And do you guys know? I know it's out, so people can they get it? Is it both physical and video on demand?
Yeah, it's you can get DVDs and Blu-rays at I think everywhere: Best Buy, Walmart, Target, stores where you buy DVDs. I stream everything, but it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's on Prime now, and it's also on. It's not on Netflix. Netflix, people always what about Netflix? And it's no, Netflix has a really weird. It's expensive and hard to get on Netflix.
Yeah, there's a really limited independent horror section on, or really horror section all on Netflix.
Yeah,
but definitely
streaming off Apple too.
Okay. Yeah. It is funny you mentioned about streaming, because I'm always a guy who says, oh, the physical copies, and I have all these DVDs. But a lot of times, even though if I know I have the DVD or Blu-ray, it's it's easier if I know it's just streaming somewhere as opposed to go pick up. That sounds really lame, as opposed to go picking up the DVD and putting it in. But.
No, I will do both, actually. I'll watch something I'll stream it, and then I'm oh, I want to own this. Even though I could stream it,
I guess it's supporting it. You know, you're paying.
Right.
Plus, I do like to watch the specials and listen to commentary tracks and things like that. So, where can people follow both of you? Not to your homes, but online. See where you're.
So I am on. I do far less acting and interesting things than Barry does, but I'm on Facebook. Julie Strebel. You can spell my name. I'm just Julie Strebel, like dash actress, and they can follow me there.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm the only Barry Victor Piacente on there, and Instagram at Barry Piacente. And we appreciate people stopping by and visiting, and saying hello. We need the support, and stop by One Must Fall too.
Yeah,
on Facebook and Instagram, and just say hello. And then, the biggest thing people can do, other than stream it, is email or Facebook message Antonio and encourage him to do a follow-up, a sequel.
yeah.
We've talked about it.
Because we're both still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we
got
could
some
totally,
scars, but yeah.
we could have another face-off. We could totally do. I'm sorry, guys. I am not a comedic actress.
That was awesome.
I liked it. Yeah, we both approve. So yeah,
face off.
Yeah, do it. And also, I know it's really important for independent film, to go on the IMDb page and rate it.
Yeah,
please do that. Yeah,
go do that. I was gonna say I'm on Instagram too, but it's mostly food and cats. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I like to cook. I've been making bread. That's as you do during a pandemic,
right?
So it's mostly cats and cooking.
Yeah,
but you can follow me on Instagram if you want, if you like those things.
Yeah, there's even some cooking stuff on my Without Your Head Instagram, which probably shouldn't be there, but whatever, it's fine. I think it's cool. So anyway, yeah, food's good. Yeah, I like that stuff. So I want to thank both of you for coming on. It's been really fun.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and have a good rest of the weekend.
You too.
Yeah. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Jules.
Bye. Good to see you, Barry.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
You're watching Without Your Head. My name's Martin W. Payne, and I'm an actor, goddammit.